Side note, I'm so glad Burnscar is dead because Burnscar and Bonesaw are way too similar phonetically, just structurally. I can't deal with it.
Welcome to Inchworm,
the podcast in which we're inching through Worm. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Ted.
We read Snare 13.9, is that right?
That's right.
All right. Good heavens.
Good heavens is right.
Is it the heavens? We don't know. Anyway, Brian had a second trigger event, apparently, which we didn't think could happen.
Yeah.
And he saved everyone.
Yeah. Bottom line, up front.
Jenny was right. The tailor shouldn't have killed him.
Oh, wow. I'm so glad that after we read this rich chapter, your number one priority is settling a score with me. Which is
I'm glad
fair.
You're glad, yes.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
We can come back to that, but I think you should tell us what happened.
Whew, okay. Bonesaw is assembling her tools. She's singing about bones being connected to other bones, perhaps making plans.
But they're the wrong bones.
They're the wrong bones, though. Taylor is very scared. Her power isn't really working. It's still there, but she can't really do anything with it. She has none of the fine control she usually does, but she figures she'll try to give just like one blunt command. So she says, attack, sort of like shouts it in her head, and then every bug for like 5 blocks in every direction starts to converge on their location to attack Bonesaw. However, Bonesaw is prepared for this, or at least can come up with a solution for this on the fly, so to speak. She gets some aerosol spray, starts spraying it, and then has like some test tubes that are like spraying fog on their own to kind of create a vapor barrier. Bonesaw points out, none of these bugs will actually hurt me. I'm immune to venoms and allergens, and she's turned off her pain. She says she doesn't like to do that on a permanent basis, but she can do it like she's flicking a switch. But it is still annoying, so she's trying to kill the bugs. And then she goes over to Taylor and starts talking about the neurological basis of powers. So there is a part of the brain called the corona pollentia, and more specifically, there's a part of that corona called the gemma that controls the active use of powers. So this is part of the crown of the head, which is where the word corona comes in. So right kind of at the top of the brain, between the frontal and the parietal lobe, it's apparently hard to like exactly pinpoint. Bonesaw points out they can't just lobotomize it for dangerous criminal capes because, the trial and error factor would be too great when there are powers as extreme as theirs on the line. But Bonesaw is very good at figuring out where the corona and the gemma are. And she can make it so that powers can't be turned off. She can temporarily turn them off or modify them. And apparently the powder that she blew at Taylor and the darts that she shot the other Unravelers with have prions that disable the gemma, which is the part that has conscious control over your powers, but it leaves powers intact. You just can't control them. So that way she can still experiment with their powers, even while they can't use their powers against her. She goes on to say that the corona is way too small to do all the things that it can do in capes. And we've seen that, like the number of bugs that Taylor can control, pretty much impossible for the human brain. And she also points out that if you carve out the corona, the powers are still there. It's just that the person can't control them and they become instinctive. And so she is fascinated that Taylor is still controlling her bugs to some extent, a very blunt extent, even while her gemma is offline, and she's really excited to take apart Taylor's brain. She thinks there's something else there, a passenger, she calls it. She's seen it at work, but it's like too small to identify, or she hasn't been able to isolate it, but she's really excited about the potential to do it in Taylor's brain. So she's cutting through Taylor's mask while she does this, because apparently it was too difficult to just figure out how to take it off. Taylor's costume is amazing, but Bonesaw has like a huge saw and is cutting through the mask. And she's like, don't worry, I'll put your brain back together after this, and then we can get to the real fun. She makes a slice across Taylor's forehead so blood is dripping in Taylor's eyes. It reminds Taylor of when the juice was poured on her at the very beginning of the story. Bonesaw has to pause because the saw she's using gets clogged with the threads from Taylor's costume. Costume coming in clutch again. She has to go look for a bigger saw. Taylor's like, okay, I have to do something. She tries talking to her quote-unquote passenger, but that doesn't really do anything. Like, she just asks it for help, but there's no response. She's like, this would be the perfect time for a rescue, but no one's coming. Like, her bugs are still around, the ones that haven't been killed by the sprays yet, but there's no one to find. And Taylor has some thoughts about, like, yeah, I knew that this plan wouldn't work. It was too unpredictable, but she rushed into it because she wanted to rescue Brian. She talks about wanting to just give up and accept her fate, but, like, how do you do that? She can't. There's still a stubborn part of her that's, like, full of hope. Mm-hmm. And then Bonesaw notices there are some threads and asks Skitter if they're hers, and Taylor's like, no, they're not, like, in her head. And realizes that Parian is there, and there's a stuffed animal inflating itself in the hallway. So Bonesaw's trying to plug in her saw so she can cut a hole in Taylor's skull. And Taylor's like, okay, Parian's coming, I have to stall her. So she starts blinking at Bonesaw, and Bonesaw's like, oh, you have something to say? Okay, 1 blink for yes, 2 for no. And she manages to lead Bonesaw on a conversation that's like, Taylor wants to hear about her art, specifically what she's going to do to Taylor. And it's not that she necessarily wants to know that, but, like, she's finding ways to keep Bonesaw talking. And Bonesaw says that what she's going to do is have Taylor's gemma lobe continue just kind of perennially attracting bugs and do some fun stuff to Taylor's body, like give her an exoskeleton and turn her into a living hive so the bugs can just all crawl inside her and nest there. And Taylor can sense the stuffed animal, but it, like, hasn't figured out where Bonesaw is. But then Bonesaw turns on the saw and that gets the stuffed animal's attention. So it charges. It attacks Bonesaw. Bonesaw sets some spiders on it. It kind of doesn't care. Like, it crushes the spiders and keeps going. It's very tough against spiders. And throws Bonesaw across the room. Bonesaw manages to mix up a couple of chemicals in some test tubes. And the dinosaur is what the stuffed animal is. It's a huge dinosaur. Starts punching Bonesaw, just like one hit after another. But she's thrown a test tube full of chemicals on it, and it starts to deflate. Its fabric is dissolving. And inside is Parian just standing there. And Bonesaw says, rude, and Parian's like, you killed my mom. Apparently Parian's family members told her to run to protect the kids, and they were supposed to escape while she handled that, so she decided it was safe to play dead, but she thinks that they're all dead. And Bonesaw's like, no, actually, some people we just transformed with plastic surgery. And Parian's like, what? Really gets thrown by that. And Parian throws some needles at Bonesaw, kind of strings her up in the air, and Bonesaw's like, ow, you broke my tooth. And Taylor's like, oh no, her teeth are reinforced. We learned that from Cherish. So she didn't break her tooth, so this is a lie. And she desperately wants to alert Parian, but there is nothing she can do. She does try to put up a screen of bugs between Parian and Bonesaw, but Parian just goes right through them. It's not that many bugs who are still alive. And when Parian gets close to Bonesaw, Bonesaw spits whatever compound she had in her mouth at Parian's face, and Parian sort of runs away, clutching her face, looking for water, but there isn't any. And Bonesaw's like, ow, I burned my tongue. I should destroy you, but I'm going to let you think about what you've done, and then I'll have fun with you later. I'll show you what I can do with a needle and thread. It'll be fun. Common interests. And then Jack Slash shows up. Bonesaw's like, I'm having the best time. And Jack's like, you have to finish up. We're going. The enemy is recouping. They're stalling Siberian Crawler. We have to leave now while they remember how hard we hit them and how little they could do. And he tells Bonesaw she can bring 3 of them along. And she chooses Skitter, Tattletale, and Trickster because she's curious about Tattletale's brain. And she misses Hackjob and wants a teleporter. And she also asks if she can leave Brian where he is. And Jack's like, yeah, that's a great idea. Show off her art. So she's like, okay, I'll kill the others. We'll start with Imp, she says, basically. And when she turns on the saw to go after Imp, Bonesaw observes out loud, that Brian's heart starts beating faster. At this point, Taylor is kind of up. Bonescar is actually there as well, and she's holding Taylor up. So Taylor is able to see that they're all looking at Brian. He's desperately trying to talk, and Bonesaw kind of jabs at him about, like, he should have taught his sister to be less stupid. And then Jack's like, all right, Bonesaw, we gotta go. Bonescar torched the others, and sorry, Bonesaw, you lost your chance. You got distracted. And then Gru sends some darkness over Bonescar's feet. There's just not much of it. Bonesaw's like, no, he's doing it. I really want to go get the hard drive. And she's arguing with Jack about it when Taylor feels everything stop. She doesn't have a body anymore. She is perceiving another of these kind of universe scale visions like she had at the merchant's party when Scrub had his trigger event. There are two beings spiraling through the universe. There are lots of iterations of them. They're pulling each other. The iterations are pulling each other forward. They're using momentum from planets and stuff. They aren't limited by the speed of light. They're only limited by their desire to stay close. They're sort of leaving essence behind them. It's kind of something we've seen before. But this is a new scene. This isn't what Taylor saw before. She has a vague memory now that she's seeing it of having seen something like this before. But this is new. One of the creatures is looking forward in time at 10,000 different futures. It's looking for something specific. It's paring away branches, and it's communicating with its partner. And it views one specific future, billions of individuals. Taylor gets glimpses of specific scenes, and it's her world, her version of Earth that it's looking at. And then it finds a destination, and the other being agrees. And then Taylor kind of loses contact with the vision. She's in a different kind of void, not the, like, universe-sized one, but she's in the void of Brian's power. Only it's different than it used to be. Now the darkness is slithering through her. It's like inside her body. It's inside her power. So her power is like a little bit muted, but she can still use her bugs to perceive things. So she can feel all the different people in the room through her bugs. Gru is there hanging from the wall of the freezer, but there's someone new. A man is standing in the darkness. He steps forward, catches Bonescar, and slams her head against the counter, and she falls to the ground, and then he disappears. And then the darkness is gone too. She feels it like retreating through her body. There's sort of a clearing in the darkness, and she sees that Bonescar is dead. Her head is completely destroyed. Jack says, interesting. And Bonesaw's like, I need the hard drive that, like, captured this moment. And Jack tries to hold her back, but she is like, no, I'm gonna get it, and goes into the freezer. And then a man appears again, a masculine figure. And it's sort of Brian, but it's also not. It's monochrome, like black and white. It's sexless. And it grabs Bonesaw's hands, which are gripping the drive, lifts her up, and Jack's like, ugh, the things I put up with, and cuts at Brian, or the pseudo-Brian. It does nothing. So instead, he cuts at Bonesaw's wrists, takes 3 tries, cuts her arms off at the wrist. She hits the ground running, and they leave. And Monochrome Brian, as Taylor is calling him, runs after them, but the floor of the freezer shatters beneath his foot, he loses his balance, and he flickers out of existence. So now Taylor is looking at the real Brian, who's hanging on the wall of the freezer still, and he sort of twitches, and then very, very slowly, his body starts putting itself together again. It takes like maybe 10 minutes, but everything heals. Even the scratches he's had for, weeks. It stops before it's totally finished, the healing, and the monochrome figure appears again, pulls out the metal studs that are impaling Brian to the wall, and lays Brian on the ground, and he drags himself towards the others because he can't walk yet. And Taylor is thinking about it. She's like, oh, he had another trigger event. And he has 2 new powers? There's this healing, there's this new figure. He was also dimming my power. Maybe that's 3 new powers. And then he touches Taylor and heals her, including her power. And then he moves on to Aisha. And Taylor's like, okay, 4 new powers? Brian says something about how he doesn't have long. His darkness flows out from him again. And it slithers through Taylor and through her bugs. And minutes later, when the darkness dissipates, everyone is on their feet again. Brian is on all fours, his cheeks wet with tears, and Taylor tries to go to him, but Tattletale stops her and just shakes her head, and then says something to Imp, who goes and tells Brian, like, yeah, big brother, let's get out of here. And Brian stands up. He's clutching one elbow with the arm dangling, which Taylor's like, that's not an injury, because he healed his injuries. It's like something else, like he feels safe in that posture or something. There's also darkness boiling out of his skin, which looks like it moves differently than his old darkness. It's thicker and slower. He sort of slowly leaves, and everyone else follows, not really saying anything. And Taylor's like, wow, I feel more helpless than ever. And that's the end of the chapter.
Wow.
Yeah, this is so wild. So we saw Faultline theorizing about second trigger events. Everything we've seen so far has indicated that it's not possible. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what the merchants were saying. It's, everything is like you get one power and then you're done. And I'm so curious about why this was able to happen. I know that you can't fully speculate. So even though I just talked a lot, I'm going to speculate.
Please do.
I suspect, he was definitely in extremis. Like, what had been done to him in the freezer could have been enough for a trigger event on its own, and then to see Aisha get threatened like that, like Bonesaw was about to kill her, like that is, first of all, it's an echo of his previous trigger event, which was about protecting Aisha.
True.
And it's probably the most intense thing he's ever felt.
Yeah.
Probably the opposite of actually the coldness he felt before when he was acting, when he was sort of empowered to beat that guy up.
Oh, interesting. We'll say more about that.
Oh, well, just like, he wasn't, I obviously don't know. Maybe he did feel cold inside, but the way he was like trying to talk, even though he physically couldn't, the way his heart was beating faster, those didn't seem like the signs of like emotionlessness.
Right.
And he also, last time, his previous trigger event, he was in a position of like, he was the stronger one, nothing was holding him back, he could just do the thing.
Yeah.
And here, he is the most helpless he's ever been.
Yeah.
And so I think there's sort of almost a parallel swing of emotions, like because he can't act, the emotions are, I imagine, very large. But something had been done to all of them, not to turn their powers off, but to deactivate the part of them that consciously controls their powers. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand any of the, like, neuroscience or, paraneuroscience well enough to know how this would work, nor do I understand how the beings or whatever act. But it is possible that having your gemma be active is what prevents you from getting a second power. So any of them could potentially have had a trigger event in this setting.
Interesting.
In fact, so before I read this chapter, I paged through the chapter really fast because I was really worried and I needed to find out what was going to happen. And when I saw 4 new powers, I was like, oh, they're all having trigger events. Because Taylor was really set up for one. She also was super helpless. And, the juice was not her trigger event, but it was a thing that connected her current experience to the bullies.
Absolutely.
So I was like, oh, is she going to trigger again?
She also noted her range was incredibly extended. Like 5 blocks is sort of the upper end that we've heard specifics about. Yeah,
so I kind of expected her to get a power also.
Yeah.
But it turned out it was just 4 new powers for Brian, which is so cool.
Yeah.
He's so powerful and also seems to be in a rough state right now.
Yeah. And we'd had in that Gregor interlude, right? He attacks Faultline out of nowhere. And it's because their previous conversation, she had been like, maybe you need to push yourself to the limit again. Like, you need to be at like risk of dying, right? So the in extremis part of it is kind of what Faultline was going for and why Gregor attacked her.
I wonder if Faultline's previous trigger event had anything to do with that second one, though. It wasn't a second one, but with Gregor's attempt. Because...
Yeah. Well, no, right. And maybe obviously that's a missing piece. We don't know how often, if ever, something like this has happened before, right? There's a lot.
I really want to see that hard drive.
No, yeah, exactly. But I do want to call some attention to what Bonesaw is doing here, because she is not shocked. She is pleasantly surprised that this is happening.
Right, good point.
Right, she is I think she like sees like, oh, you know, when I went for the girl with the horns, his heart started beating faster, and it's like, and then she touches Taylor's cheek, and she's like, it's so fun to like do stuff and watch. You know, you can just watch his organs reacting, and then when it starts to happen, she's like, he's doing the thing. That's one of the last things that Taylor hears.
So she knows this is possible.
And I was just thinking again about what Bonesaw said to Taylor last chapter. You mean the boy we put in the freezer? I'm still trying to figure out where his power comes from. The darkness comes from inside him, but what's the source? Besides the usual, I mean. So I took everything apart to see, but he wasn't cooperating. I told him I'd make the pain stop forever if he would just show me, but he was so stubborn. So I don't know that it's like she knew that this would happen, but she's pursuing this line of inquiry, and now I read that, like, what's the source, as being similar to what you were speculating about. Like, what is the thing that... Like, what is the trigger event? Like, what was his emotional state? Kind of a thing that she was exploring. And when she's talking about the way that she knows about parahuman biology, way more than anyone else does, right? When she's talking about how, like, well, you can't just do a quick lobotomy on a criminal because, you know, like, it's tough to find. And, like, you know, if they have laser eyes, they'll zap you. I kind of take that as a skill issue. Like, I think Bonesaw could do it, right? Like,
that was what I took away from it.
She's good enough. And she was kind of saying... based on people's powers, I can find the gemma faster, right? And we've also heard, going back to the parahuman studies lecture, this idea of like, oh, well, there's a theory that like mental trauma causes a certain type of power and more physical trauma causes a certain type of, you know, more physical power. And I wouldn't be surprised if Bonesaw has... made a lot more progress into this kind of like, okay, well, Brian has a power like this, and so maybe something like this, right? So I feel like I don't want to give Bonesaw too much credit for engineering this outcome, but I do think that her inquiry was in the direction of like, I want to figure out something about a specific parahuman's like buttons, right? Like I think she's trying to push his buttons in an intentional way, connected back to what you were speculating about.
She also seems to know how to give people trigger events. Like, she has said she's watched trigger events, like, with people she's had on her table.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just been, like, coincidental. Maybe she dissects enough people and, like, some of them are going to trigger. But I do wonder if she's able to find something out from someone's brain that tells her what kind of trigger event they need in order to get a power.
Right. No, that's a good point. The causality could go the other direction. And it could be the kind of thing, like, if she had had Taylor, maybe she would have been able to observe, like, oh, well, when I pour blood on your head like juice, it extends your range by, 50 feet for every minute this goes, like I feel like she could have been not being like, how do I engineer a second trigger event, but more like, oh, like, I want to learn about, Tattletale's theory about, like, if we go closer to the source of our trauma, our powers get better, right? Like that kind of compulsion that capes feel, or like need that capes feel to kind of like keep putting themselves out there so that they can taste the feeling of being stronger, right? Like Bonesaw's experiment might have been more trying to get evidence for that, right? And this took it to, well, who knows why, right?
I was just looking back at yes, he's doing it. I think that's referring to he's using his power, which she was trying to get him to do through the torture.
Oh.
So I think it's like the darkness rolls across Burnscar's feet, and Bonesaw's like, yes, he's doing it. I need to check the hard drive. So I don't think that was in reference to a second trigger event.
Well, that's interesting, because I was assuming partially that I had recontextualized it in my head. I think what you're saying might make sense. I had recontextualized it in my head so that Bonesaw was trying to get him more to, like, open up about his trigger event, or like fill her in more on the details, and that's what he wasn't talking about. And that, his power had, similar to all the others, been, like, prion deactivated or whatever, right? So that he was just in a similar state, and that's why he wasn't covering himself with darkness.
Yeah.
Versus the original theory of like, oh, like if she sees the darkness, then, you know, like, so he's trying to resist her that way. I recontextualized it more as like resisting, like letting her know what buttons to push to make him feel more triggered. But I see what you're saying. It could be either. And it could be like he was holding back on using his power.
Yeah.
And then it's just before, really. It's just before the trigger event happens. Well, it's interesting because before the trigger event, Vision takes over Taylor, she sees the darkness and she notices it's different. So sort of the timing of like how it works. It's like he's beginning to manifest a new version of his power. Like, the way that it goes across the floor is unfamiliar. I thought that was just
because he was really weak. Because there's no direction and very little volume. That's actually different than what it is later when he has, like, the tendrils that move, you know, slowly. Because I think that's just sort of his gemma is deactivated and all he can do is kind of turn it on, but he can't control it.
Okay. Yeah.
But then once she wakes up from the universe vision, then she does note that it feels different.
I do like reading how Bonesaw is so excited immediately after it happens. I do wonder, you know, it could be between kind of the things that we're saying.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it were new.
Yeah.
Like, I sort of assumed it was. She doesn't really indicate strongly one way or the other, though. So you're right. She could know about other second trigger events.
Yeah, I wasn't even trying to imply that, but yeah, it could even be that.
Yeah. Okay, so these beings.
Okay, we'll get into the
cosmology.
The entity vision.
Yeah. So there are two beings again.
Mm-hmm.
And we've only ever seen two.
Correct.
I mean, we've also seen just one, but we've never seen more than two. There could only be two.
True.
The, like, flotsam and jetsam eels of the universe are, like, going around giving people powers. When Taylor last saw them, they were, like, making plans to reconvene.
Yeah.
I wonder if they reconvened for this. That might be giving more credit to, like, temporality, like the sort of linear nature of time between these two trigger events, just because, do the beings exist within time like that? Unclear. And also, no one else had a trigger event in the last few days in the entire world? Maybe. I guess there aren't that many capes. It's possible.
They are also in this scene, they're together at the beginning and then they're breaking apart again by the end.
Yeah. And they have a very specific goal that they're, like, combing through universes. It reminded me a lot of Dinah's power.
Yeah.
Combing through different worlds.
Yeah.
Hers, it seems like, are, like, possibilities. Like, in this, I got the sense it's like, all these worlds actually exist. Like, you know, Earth Aleph is in there. Like, a bunch of different Earths are there.
Right.
Dinah's, I think it might be more like these other timelines collapse, but maybe not. I mean, maybe this is like Coil's thing where, like, there are all these universes now where Coil brutalizes someone in whatever way he does.
Yeah. Well, yeah, without getting into, like, what is the power of it, I almost feel like we definitely had the sort of multiverse idea, because we see an Earth in perpetual winter, an Earth with a population of hundreds, an Earth with a population of 12 billion, that's a modern dark age with a singular religion, right? And then the entities sort of dismiss a lot of those Earths, kind of what you're saying are alternate Earths. Yeah. But then they still say, with Taylor's Earth, which she has a strong, like, she could be wrong about it, but she like feels like this is hers, there are still tens or hundreds of thousands of possibilities, right? And so, like, if you see that as future sight, it could be both a like space or dimensional space and a time axis, and there is sort of like the idea they leave us with is focusing on that one world, on the possible futures that could unfold, committing to none, but exploring the possibilities that lay before them. So I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah. They can do the thing that Dinah can't. They can actually look at the possibilities.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah.
And they're looking for something. Maybe they're just like, who can we give a power to? But maybe the impression I got while reading, I don't know if this is actually founded, is they're like, who can we give a power to effect some outcome?
Yeah, well, I got that impression too, because the reason they dismiss those other Earths is because they say the possibilities are few with these Earths, but there's a lot of possibility with Taylor's Earth. for some reason.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you more about the sort of timeline-ness of it. Because you sort of were saying, like, oh, well, they departed and then reconvened, and this is happening now. But they're also sort of choosing Taylor's Earth as a destination in this moment.
Yeah.
So is that, like, do they keep leaving and coming back to Earth? Or, like, what
That's
is
a good question. Do they go to other versions of Earth or just other places in the multiverse?
It's not like they're going there for one trigger event. Unless maybe they are,
Yeah.
I guess if there are only two of them, right? Maybe two
then
of them
they were
stop
also
by,
just there
and then they leave,
a few
and then a
days
different
ago.
two would come by, and that would be someone else's trigger event. I guess there are a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, we don't really know.
I really loved seeing with them, right? Because they're alive, they're eating light and radiation, they're vast, right? They're vast and multidimensional. They can break the laws of physics, right? Like they go faster than light.
Like they need, but maybe they don't need to, but at least they like to sort of piggyback on existing momentum to slingshot them across. Like that's so cool.
Yeah,
as a mechanism.
And I was gonna say they are limited as they leave each other. They sort of lose the ability to do the sort of forecasting that they were doing together. Whatever view they'd had of the future, they were losing it. It was too much to pick through on their own. So it's really cool to see that as all-powerful as these things are, they are like organisms in some way that do have individual limits, right? Like they're not like equally omnipotent gods that are like completely transcending. They're like transcending everything that we can understand, but they are kind of like
I feel like
painted in a slightly
Miss
limited
Militia
way.
would have to reconsider her Christian God theory if she saw this particular vision.
Yeah.
The fascinating thing also is that everyone in the room with them was a cape. Like, everyone saw this.
That's true.
Yeah, there were no humans hanging out being like, humans. There were no non-parahumans just hanging out being like...
That's weird.
Why is everyone kind of freaking out?
Yeah. I mean, they won't remember it, presumably, unless there's...
I bet Tattletale will hang on to a lot of it this time.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Oh my gosh, Faultline will flip out if she hears about this. Oh, I want Tattletale to tell her, and I want her to be just a little bit smug about it, but not so smug that it shuts down the possibility of conversation.
Amazing. And, like, Faultline is, like, right here, right? Like,
oh, yeah.
She's fighting Crawler, like, in the other room.
I think, like, outside the building. They're probably not close enough to have the vision.
Exactly.
But Tattletale almost held on to it last time.
So true.
So I bet she's gotten a little more this time.
Before we move off of that vision, did you make anything of the snapshot?
Oh, yeah, that was so weird. I don't know that I made anything specific of it.
In that one heartbeat, I saw people who were somehow familiar. A young man, a teenager, out of place among his peers, men who were burly with muscle. They were drinking. He was tan with narrow hips, his forehead creased in worry above thick glasses, but his mouth was curled in the smallest of wry smiles over something one of the men was saying.
Is it Danny?
In
the past.
Way?
I don't know.
Okay,
I'm just trying to think of, like, who could it be?
Well, what is this situation, then?
I mean, I honestly have no idea.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, it fits, yeah. I don't know that I've thought of him as tan, but
no,
thin,
probably not.
thick glasses, right. Certainly someone who's familiar to Taylor.
Yeah.
But yeah, if a teenager, it would have to be past Danny.
Yes, yeah. But they're not necessarily limited
surrounded by burly men.
Yeah. I'm not sure what teenager would be in that position now.
Yeah.
Theo? Has she ever seen Theo? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Oh, but he's also not thin. Like, she probably would have identified it if it were one of just the capes that we know. Though it could be someone she's only ever seen masked.
Interesting. Yeah.
Jack Slash.
But that also invites the, like, if this is now, but the entities aren't there yet, or if this is the past and the entities aren't there yet, then it's like she's seeing a vision of long ago.
It would be weird
to
see a vision of long ago, but I'm not sure where this would be happening now that would be relevant to us or, like, people that Taylor knows.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Very intriguing.
So, Brian, I went through a few layers of thought where at first I was like, okay, well, thank goodness Taylor didn't kill him. And then I was like, well, he just had the worst day of his life, and it was even worse than the last time. So maybe he does wish he died instead of that happening. And then I realized that no, because if he had died, then Aisha would have died, and Taylor would have died, and all the Undersiders, all the Unravelers would have died. And if he cares enough about them surviving that it's enough to trigger a second trigger event, then he would have wanted to be alive for it.
Yeah. I mean, Bonesaw torturing him wasn't enough.
No.
Right? It was...
Aisha's life being threatened.
Yeah.
And or Taylor's life being threatened.
Yeah. He reacts to both Bonesaw, sort of touching or dealing with Aisha and with Taylor. There's, of course, Brian famously referring to Taylor as someone he sees as like a sister to him. And when he starts healing them, he does go to Taylor first.
That's true. I mean, Taylor might be the only one who's wounded.
Yeah, well,
Taylor has
Parian.
Oh, well, that's true, but he doesn't know Parian.
That's right. That's a good point. They aren't all
I think the other Unravelers
injured.
are unconscious or paralyzed. They're not unconscious, but not wounded, whereas Taylor has, like, cuts on her head, which bleed a lot. So she probably looks the worst.
Right.
But it is notable that Aisha doesn't still trump her just by being his sister.
Right. And then there's the moment at the end where Tattletale advises that Aisha go to Brian instead of Taylor.
I'm fascinated by that.
So, yeah, it's a really interesting question about... I feel like your observation that it's like, Aisha got threatened again, and this is kind of like recapitulating the original trauma that he had. Yeah. But I do feel like Taylor's in the mix.
Oh, yeah.
In this scene, for sure. And that is certainly playing into it somehow.
Yeah. I'm curious what Tattletale saw, because I don't think it's anything we could have picked up on. Like, it's definitely her power filling in some gaps.
Agreed.
Is it that Brian's relationship with Taylor is more volatile, is less settled? Like, Aisha's his sister. That's very, like, sort of a stable connection.
Yeah.
And Taylor is someone who he has this, like, he just became friends with her again. He feels strongly about her, but, like, hasn't, that relationship hasn't settled. And I wonder if that would have been kind of too much, unhelpful.
I also think just the contrast between Taylor's like, what the hell was that, Brian? And when Aisha goes to him...
It might be more about their personalities than the relationship.
In a voice far gentler than any I'd heard from her before, she said, "Hey, big brother, let's get out of here." And then he nods and, he gets up, but he does not accept her help. He walks out of his own free will. I can also kind of imagine Taylor, like, grabbing him, trying to, push him around in the moment. And so, there are definitely some things. It could be more like what you were saying. It's about the nature of the relationship and, like, that kind of thing. But I also feel like there's some... Taylor may not be as
well suited.
Not have taken as gentle a touch as Aisha did. And
I also really like just the contrast between Aisha here and how we've seen her before. She was just so much filling a role before. Like, it's not like those things about her, like, acting out in front of Brian were, like, inalienable parts of her personality.
Yeah,
it's a side of her, but, like, she has many other sides.
Yeah, she's not like, oh, you loser, like, of course not. But yeah, after her interlude, like, he would never...
No.
He would never think that,
no.
But yeah.
But Taylor didn't see that interlude.
Exactly.
She doesn't know.
Yeah.
So, Brian's powers.
Yeah, I have a bunch of notes that are just like, Brian has a new power. Brian has a new power. So, like, going through it, I mean, I'm curious about what the reading experience was like. I mean, Wild was not above making a Groupon in this chapter. Taylor observes that Brian's new powers are incongruent. And that is a fitting word. So I'm just wondering, like, as you're getting, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, like, how are you feeling about it? And, like, what do you make of it now?
Would you say that before his name was short for Gruesome, and now it's short for Gru All?
Yes.
No, okay. How do I feel about his powers? I mean, I love it. In this kind of story, you always just want, like, you want your characters to become OP, basically.
Yes, the progression fantasy. Like, you level up again and again.
This is why I keep saying it would be so cool if Taylor got another power.
It is. I mean, he does regenerate over the course of 10 minutes. Yeah. But it's sort of like if you level up and the DM lets you get all of your hit points back, immediately. Like, instant long rest, you know?
No, that level of healing of himself and of other people, that's something, I don't think it's as effective as Panacea's power, probably.
Okay.
But I think it's more effective than any other healing power we've seen. Like, we heard about, what was the woman with the rune name? Oaxaca? No, that's a place in Mexico. Othala.
Hers was more limited,
Hers, like, she was able to do a little bit to, like, nudge someone towards healing, like, every day or something. Like, it seems like there's some sort of limitation on her power. And Gru wasn't, I think he didn't want to take the time to heal himself all the way, but, like, that was so much healing he did.
Yeah,
He put his skin back on and retracted his nerves, I guess. And, like, his organs were all separated and he was opened up and now he's whole again.
Yeah.
He was not on my list of possibilities. Gru heals himself and heals other people, which is something that Panacea can't do.
She can't heal herself, right?
Yes. She can't do both. She can't heal herself.
Right. And they both seem to be healing powers, right? Panacea has a much broader skill set,
also,
potentially.
This is the first moment of Brian having these powers. So, it's possible he can refine them.
Fair.
Yeah. So he's got healing himself, he's got healing others, if you want to call that 2 separate powers. I don't know if you really... I think that's what Taylor meant when she said 4 powers.
Mm-hmm. I think so, yeah.
He has... His darkness is different.
It's so fascinating. Taylor described it as slithering past my skin to brush against my heart, tracing the edges of my wounds, the gouge in my skull that Bonesaw had made with her saw, slithering over and through my brain.
I wonder if he can perceive through it. I bet he can.
That description is like, it's very intimate, if not a little bit like penetrative. Like it's very different from just like a fog of cloud.
It's inside of her and it's inside of her bugs, which are tiny.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. Yeah, it seems like, I bet he now has like, what would we call it? Like Obscurivoyance or something. He can like see with his darkness the way Taylor can see with his bugs. Like before, he could see through his darkness. He wasn't affected by it.
Right.
But I bet if he puts darkness around the corner, he can tell what's there now.
Interesting.
And it seemed like he healed people with the darkness.
Interesting.
I don't know if that's true because we couldn't see what was happening while the darkness was spread out.
But yeah, the idea of the darkness sort of lapping at the wounds, right?
Yeah, but when the darkness covers everyone and then when it dissipates, everyone's standing up and they're fine.
Yeah. But
they're also all really creeped out.
Point, they were not as poorly injured.
No,
so what
true.
they needed healing from was the like curare paralytic stuff and the extra prion disease that Bonesaw used on the Gemma. Like those are the only 2 things affecting the others, presumably. I guess we had that detail about Aisha being caught in a wolf trap, so maybe she was a little bit more injured than the others.
What happened to her.
But yeah.
That's so funny because when she said the wolf trap thing, I was like, what is a wolf? Like, I assumed it was like some sort of term for a type of gambit. But now that you say that, I'm like, oh no, it was actually just a physical trap.
Yeah.
She got caught and she turned off her power because she needed help getting out of it.
Right. Yeah, I think it's like... And
she was in horrible pain.
Yeah, just to... An aside there, very effective counterplay after Imp attacked them, right? It's like, well, how do you deal with this thing you don't understand that's so nearby? Quick. Just like set a booby trap.
So good.
And Imp stumbled into it. And just like, I can imagine her being in that position and being like...
I'm going to die here.
Yeah, I'm going to bleed out. It'd be so humiliating, right? Like Bonesaw says, like, well, she was so stupid to like use her power, but I think...
I mean, it worked out. She's alive. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the it worked out of it all, like at a narrative level, or do you want to stay on Brian's power?
I mean, Stephen Moffat did write this episode, apparently.
Well, so the point that I wanted to make, and something that I've been thinking a lot about, is that I don't think you can say the ends justify the means in a situation like this, because I think this is a great example of Eucatastrophe, right? Yeah. Something happened that was completely unpredictable and like a devastating moment of complete victory, right?
Yeah.
This was a case where there was, maybe Bonesaw had a hunch that something like this was possible, but you can't even give her credit for like pulling it off, because all of the different elements of like the amount that Taylor stalls, you know, like Parian coming in and like buying them a little bit more time, you know, the rest of the 9 coming back and Jack being like, we have to hurry away, right? Like all of this stuff is contingent on getting them to that point where Brian is suffering so much, and presumably it's the like, well, now we're going to kill your sister, right? That is like sort of the thing that sets it off. And then he gets this amazing new power that allows him to completely save his own life and the lives of all of the other, you know, people in this room that we care about. Like, it's not a total victory in that Jack and Bonesaw get away, but he kills Burnscar. Yeah. Right? And
first 9 death we've seen.
Yeah. Now they really are the Slaughterhouse 5. So while narratively totally fair to say like, well, you know, something like this had to happen, and like it's great, you know, that there was such an exciting out, and there's this mystery and there's this new dynamic, and it's a big character beat for Brian and for Taylor and, you know, all this different stuff. But in terms of like thinking about it more in the fiction of the world, Trickster's plan was bad. Yeah. Taylor wasn't prepared. She lost. She was completely helpless. She took some agency in this chapter, and it's really well done on Wildbow's part to like give her just enough agency to kind of keep the tension up. So it's not like, you know, and we can talk also about like, you know, Taylor thinks like, this would be the time for a rescuer to show up, but thanks to my great bug surveillance power, I know there are no rescuers coming. Yeah. But then to have like, but Parian's already in the building. I forgot she could be inside one of her, you know, like, right? Like,
that was pretty cool.
Some really good playing with your expectations there. But at the end of the day, Taylor's completely helpless. They're all going to die. I guess Taylor, Tattletale, and Trickster were going to get dragged off to be turned into a living hive and a new hack job abomination and whatever. But like,
fate worse than death, yeah.
Yeah, they were all due. Maybe they would have left Brian and Panacea would have come to him or something. But like, basically, if not for the miracle of the second trigger event, this is a total loss, game over, story over. Yeah. Right. So,
but that's more about Trickster's plan than about their decision to leave Gru alive.
Yes. But I'm saying, like, there is no reasonable expectation that something like this could have saved Brian. Right. So, like, if Taylor were choosing hope by saying, like, but what if Brian has a second trigger event and suddenly he gets all the perfect powers and it saves us? That would be like not a wise
I feel like
idea.
We've already kind of litigated this in the last episode, but
I don't mean to relitigate it at all. I'm just saying I think a moment of Eucatastrophe or Gruecatastrophe, if you will, it's not something that should factor into your like utilitarian calculus.
Okay. I don't think Taylor has to know exactly how Gru can be saved in order to say, let's not kill him the second we find him.
Yeah. And I agree with that too. And I mean, it's a total judgment call, but it's like, you know, the plan was to get in there, swap Gru. Now they know they can't because he's stuck to the wall, right? So,
well, one thing I was thinking about, I was like, is Brian going to be grateful to Taylor or angry?
Yeah.
And I think he's probably not going to feel very strongly either because he's like incredibly traumatized right now, and I think that's just going to take priority. No. But I think, in a way, I think gratitude would win because she saved all of them by doing that.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't want Aisha to die so that he would be spared, like, a few more minutes of agony.
I may have overstated the case last episode in terms of, I wouldn't generalize from, you know, Ballistic's desire to mercy kill Brian to a general rule about the virtues of mercy killing. That's not the point I was trying to make.
Yeah.
More so that Taylor's reasons for doing it, I don't see as her choosing hope and being compassionate towards Brian so much as being a little bit selfish and in denial about how bad things are.
Well, it's definitely selfish. I mean, if you think about the decision she made this same day, that, like, the people that Bonesaw was hacking up, well, they're dead already.
Yeah.
Let's kill them with the sun. And then, I mean, she had, like, also a tactical reason for needing to do that. She doesn't have a tactical reason for killing Brian, but, like, Brian's the one she knows and cares about. So even though he is so far gone, probably maybe farther gone than a lot of those people were that she killed with a fireball, he's the one who can't die.
Yeah. And the existence of, you know, healing and stuff, right, it's different.
It's another way
It's a different kind of world.
Like, being a cape is different, though. Brian is a cape. He has a team of capes around him. Those people that Bonesaw was cutting up on the street were just humans. They were just bystanders.
But
they don't get this level of...
What if they hadn't been killed by that sun, they had a trigger event?
No, but exactly.
Taylor is responsible for the end of the world because she let Sundance kill those people, right? I'm being very flip.
Yeah.
But
I mean that is true. She's treating Brian as special, and I mean, of course, she's going to. But
I also think the other reason I think I'm thinking about and emphasizing this as kind of a miraculous moment is because you wouldn't want this to feel like a Deus Ex Machina button that you can press over and over and over again in the story, like to continually...
Oh no, you can never do this again unless you earn it by figuring out what caused it and setting up the circumstances.
No, right, but so that's kind of what I'm saying is like Taylor is so good at putting all of these tools together in her toolbox and using people and being prepared and strategizing. And something like this, both in the fiction of the world, would be so hard to recreate, but also narratively, it's not going to be a tool that she uses.
It's true. Yeah.
Every arc.
She doesn't need to come up with a name for it, like her bug blast or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of the point that I'm
Second trigger,
making.
pow pow.
Yeah. I would be really surprised if Taylor's like, okay, well now, I'm going to go and I'm going to bully everyone into having another...
No, she needs to be bullied, and then she'll have a second trigger event.
No, right. But, she's not going to, go to Faultline and be like, I figured it out, and now you get a power. She's not going to be Oprah handing out second trigger events to everyone just because that's we all need to be more powerful to fight the Endbringers, right? That's not going to be the...
Well, now you say that. I'm like, if they figure it out, that's totally what she would do.
Well, that's why I'm saying that it doesn't feel like a tool. It feels like
certainly
a
not
miracle.
At this point.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe the story could get us to a point like that.
Yes.
But
we would have to understand it. They have to get that hard drive.
Yeah. It is.
I bet Tattletale gets that hard drive.
Could be. Yeah. That'd be great. It feels important that this be
a one-off. Or an exception, an outlier.
Right, a truly exceptional, unpredictable, and uninstrumentalizable event.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, so part of Brian's new powers, there's a monochrome version of himself that's Scion-esque, was my impression.
Okay, say more.
That's probably an exaggeration.
Because of the Ken doll thing.
Scion was a Ken doll, right?
I think he's wearing... I think he's naked. I don't think...
they didn't say.
Right, and someone did eventually give him clothes.
Right.
Which might even suggest that
he's not a Ken doll?
That he's not a Ken doll,
so
but I don't think
equivalent.
Scion's penis is... It's like Schrodinger's penis right now.
Okay, but someone's made fan art, right? Okay, but yeah, so one of Brian's new powers is that in addition to creating darkness that maybe can heal people, maybe has some kind of physical presence, maybe he can sense things through it, all question marks, he can also create a physical manifestation that looks like him, but it's black and white. And Taylor's like, it's black with white patterns. Is it white with black patterns? So it's a little unclear.
Yeah.
Sort of like zebra stripes. It's not zebra striped, but it's unclear the way it's are zebras white with black stripes or the other way around?
Yeah. It was sort of a spiral.
Yeah, over his chest.
Whorls of color. Yeah.
Of black and white, yeah. And it is a Ken doll, which is weird. And I don't know if the face looks exactly like Brian. Did we get a description of the face?
She said that one of his eyes was half formed.
Oh, yeah. Maybe not fully imagined or... interesting. It's probably also hard to tell if it looks exactly like his face. I remember once I painted my face blue for a costume and people couldn't recognize me. It was so weird. Mm-hmm. My coworkers who I see every day had no idea who I was. So it's probably hard to exactly gauge. I'm sure, at least I strongly suspect, we'll get another close-up look. But yeah, this figure can do things. It's incredibly strong, apparently. It smashes Burnscar's face in with a single blow. It smashes her against the counter, I think, and she's dead. Her face is all caved in, and her skull is reinforced by Bonesaw.
Yeah.
Side note, I'm so glad Burnscar is dead because Burnscar and Bonesaw are way too similar phonetically, just structurally. I can't deal with it.
While we're talking about Burnscar, I do just want to point out, I sort of have a headcanon. When Burnscar enters the scene, Taylor notes that she looks troubled.
Ooh.
She doesn't get any dialogue, right? And then after the trigger event, we get the line, Burnscar had put out her flame, was cradling her hands to her chest. So I was kind of thinking, like, I wonder if, like, did she see Labyrinth on the field? There could have been some kind of encounter out there. And then
interesting.
We know that her fire is what pushes her into that sort of, inhuman, non-empathetic state.
Right.
So I think there's a little tragedy of the moment here in that in the trigger of vision, her power went out and she was for a moment sort of like going back to her
self.
Her normal self, seconds before Brian caves her head in. So rip Burnscar.
Yeah.
I could see the
it is a tragedy.
I could see a very, tragic fic from her perspective about how, like, she has a little moment of clarity right before the end. But yeah, she's dead.
Tragic fic from Labyrinth's perspective, where she, like, does encounter her on the field, and then she finds her body.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she's dead. Like you said, Slaughterhouse-5. But yeah, so this monochrome Brian, incredibly strong, doesn't seem to have any trouble doing that to Burnscar, and then rips out the, like, piles or whatever was, like, driven into the wall to keep Brian attached to it. Just, like, rips them out and then lifts Brian's body to the ground, which is so, like, almost circular, like, surreal. Like, he is able to create a figure that carries him. It's actually a little bit like what Genesis does when she's, like, still kind of dreaming and she has a figure carry her in her chair, I think, up to Taylor's second floor. And then she wakes up and the figure disappears. Yeah, these powers, it's like you can create your own transport. It's like lifting yourself up by the seat of your pants.
Yeah. Well, that moment I found just so affecting because part of Brian saving them is, right, like, he saves himself and he does it entirely by himself.
Yeah.
Right? And sort of that, the excruciating, like, he draws all of the nerves back into his body, he pulls all of his organs in, and then because he's still attached to the wall, he has to create monochrome Brian and rip himself out of the wall and, like, gently lay himself down in order to be able to kind of, like, continue the process. And again, just sort of having to do everything himself is so hard. It's so sad, right? It's like we're sort of like, who can rescue Brian? Who can save Brian? And
Brian saves Brian.
Nobody can.
Yeah.
He's the only one, and he has to do it bit by painstaking bit.
The thing where he laid himself really gently on the ground, it reminded me of, like, the way you are taught, like, or the way you're encouraged to treat yourself when you're going through something really hard. It's like, okay, well, maybe sometimes you need the tough love, you need to rip yourself out of the wall, but then you need to be really kind to yourself. Like, don't beat yourself up about your own suffering. Yeah. And he has this sort of external version of himself that can be really nice and supportive to himself. Yeah, and it's also, the way the chapter ends is Taylor being like, well, I'm alive and the 9 are gone, but I feel more helpless than ever, right? She's feeling she's feeling this like distance between her and Brian. It's like, well, I don't know what to do. How can I help him? He clearly needs help. But the moment of Aisha going to him and he doesn't accept her help to stand up. He stands up on his own and just kind of like staggers away. And Taylor's describing his darkness as a wall, as armor. Yeah. Right? It's like... Well, they all just saw him being so vulnerable and so much pain. Right. But it just feels very deeply Brian and connected to, his trauma, right? The sort of his darkness being like, okay, well, I'll put everyone else in the dark, but I'm the one who can see and I can act. Like he and now it's a little bit like, well, that wasn't enough. Even if I can't act, I can still act. Right. So it's
this new set of powers does feel like it is
more self-protective.
It is picking up on that theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is the part about he wants agency even when he physically can't have it. There's the part about distancing himself from his own body.
Yeah.
Feeling it's sort of an out-of-body experience.
Yeah.
That's what they all had during the trigger event, but, like, he has a self that's outside of his own body, and I'm sure in that moment he did not want to be in that body.
Yeah.
And yet he also has the power to restore his body. Just like a fun little parallelism to that, maybe. Fun counterpart.
Yeah, I mean, Monochrome Brian, right, seems to kind of like flicker in and out of existence. And there was that interesting bit where Monochrome Brian can't chase the 9 because he sort of breaks the floor and stumbles and then flickers away.
That's why Siberian has this power, has the ability to transfer her invulnerability to everything she touches, so she's not like shattering the street as she runs.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that. No. I mean, I'm sure he'll learn how to work around it.
Absolutely.
I do wonder, these powers, he might be a little bit OP now. Is there, like, what are the drawbacks? Obviously, he paid a big price up front in what he went through.
Yeah.
But are the drawbacks going to be social? Is it about how he interacts with the other Undersiders? Is there going to be a wall there, going forward for a while? Is it going to be harder to do some of the things he used to do if his darkness is different, but he can do these other cool things to compensate?
It's a good instinct, right? Because it's the powers in Worm are not... There's certainly, like, better ones and worse ones, but they do seem to be well calibrated to have some kind of weakness or drawback, even the really, really good ones we've seen. Yeah.
And, I mean, it's not like he has the power to change the entire world the way he wants. Like, now, in addition to the darkness, he can limit other people's powers, he can heal other people who can heal himself, and he has this super ultra strong extra version of himself. So that is a lot.
Yeah.
But it's not, every battle he enters is immediately over level of power.
Well, what did you make of the thing where he's sort of sapping Taylor's power?
It made me think of how his darkness affects Shadowstalker.
Yeah.
Where she can't quite get enough air in her shadow state because I guess the darkness is kind of going through her. But now Brian's darkness can go through everyone. I think they'll probably still be able to breathe. But if it's just like almost coating her power centers in her brain, it's just that her power, it's like a little muffling effect.
That's a really good observation. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the impression I got from what we read. It didn't seem to be a very intense effect. And I bet when he's better able to control his darkness, he'll be able to, like, not apply it to his allies and that kind of thing. So he probably doesn't even know it's doing that yet.
Right. The one other question I had about his power set, right at the end, he says, "I don't have long."
That's a good... Ooh.
And then he blacks out everything, and then everyone's on their feet, and he's on the floor crying. I was wondering if you had any, theories about, what that signifies.
That's a really great question. It doesn't seem to be a response to anything external, like the 9 aren't coming back, it doesn't seem like. When he's walking out at the end, he's walking really slowly. No one seems concerned. He doesn't seem concerned about, running into enemies imminently. So it must be something about his power. Like, is this a temporary burst of extra powers? That hasn't been how trigger events have worked. But it could be, maybe.
Yeah, second trigger, like, who knows?
Right, there are no rules for second trigger events. It could be he goes back to normal after this, just with some extra trauma. It could be that he's now, like, burning brightly and he only has, like, a short amount of time to live. That doesn't seem super likely, but wow, wouldn't that be a fun twist on the tragedy of just, like, instead of dying in the freezer, he sort of burns himself out to escape.
Yeah. And speaking of, another great way Wildbow inverts this trope here is the fridging victim is the one who ends up getting the level up, saving themselves, right?
Yeah.
Very much gets to further his own story as much as anybody else's in escaping. Which actually plays more into the traditional gender role, right? Because you have, like, the male hero having the fridged partner getting to go on and, like, be stronger. And I think the part of the women in refrigerators thing was like, oh, well, men tend to, like, they reinvent themselves, they get a new power, they bounce back, and the women are the ones that have their narratives cut short. So this is inverting the trope, but not inverting the sort of
gender
comics
aspect.
gender stereotype, which is interesting. Of course, the level of increased trauma we have already seen in this chapter is very much a with great power comes great crushing trauma. It's not like now he'll have all these cool powers and be fine.
Well, it's really interesting that someone got all these cool powers and it's not our protagonist. What a choice. That actually makes me think, is that because he doesn't have long to live or the powers aren't going to last very long? And I mean, this isn't a story where only Taylor gets to do cool stuff, but it is surprising. But I guess I, as the reader, kind of want Taylor to get all the cool stuff. I want her to get the extra powers. But I bet we will get to see her figuring out how to navigate this very different relationship, this very different Brian.
If they continue to be teammates, then she has all these powers in her toolbox.
She is someone who uses other people's powers like tools. She'll be thrilled. But I wonder, is this foreshadowing something in her storyline? Is she going to be trying to get a second trigger event for herself? That doesn't quite seem like her style. I don't know.
Well, it certainly is interesting to think about how will she grapple with, or not, sort of how badly she failed here, or how badly they failed here, right? There's kind of the, everything turned out okay and Brian's stronger in some ways than ever. So I don't have to deal with, how bad I was feeling or, all
that
of
doesn't
that
sound like her.
stuff. Right.
I feel like she'll be thinking about wow, we really screwed up and we could have all died except for some sort of, cosmic miracle.
Yeah.
She's not going to want to do one of Trickster's plans again, that's for sure. I wonder if it'll sort of increase her desire for control.
Yeah. And we saw a lot of that in this chapter, right?
She really wanted to influence what Parian was doing with Bonesaw.
Yeah, trying to help Parian, just wishing that she could do any one thing, right? We have all these beats of her physical deterioration, she has the black creeping in around the edges, and Bonesaw's kind of I can tell you're dying, so let's get this on, let's get this show on the road. And I love the moment where she acknowledges how stubborn she is. She's well, maybe I could just give up and die, but some larger, more stubborn, maybe stupider part of me absolutely refuses.
Yeah.
This is why we love you, and this is why she's such a good protagonist. And she can't do anything, but even though she can only blink, she manages to like stall Bonesaw for a few moments to give Parian a chance to run over, right?
Yeah, she really does a good job of working with Bonesaw, like Bonesaw's prompt with what she knows about Bonesaw, to find something that she'll talk about for just a couple minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
And we get to learn about the living hive vision.
I know, it's so great for Wildbow to find a way to work that in. It's like, well, I don't... It's like, this is sort of like... I'm not going to have Taylor get Bonesawed, but I do want you guys to know what would happen if Taylor got Bonesawed. So it's a great way to include that.
Have your cake, yeah.
But I wanted to ask about, like, what is going on with Taylor's power in this chapter? Okay, well, there's that whole question of, like, how do powers work and Bonesaw's kind of theories about that. Right, because I guess I was approaching at it more just from, like, well, okay, if she's totally paralyzed and can literally do nothing, it's not an exciting chapter. Like, you want your protagonist to have agency. And she has the, like, oh, she can blink a little bit, right, part of it. But the other thing that she can do is, despite the, prion dust that she got showered with, she can give her bugs simple commands. She's like, attack, and that works. Yeah. She's like, wall, barrier, that works. Find bitch feels like it is not something that is within, like, she can kind of tell that that's not going to work. Yeah. And yeah, I was just wondering, I mean, should we talk about, like, Bonesaw's power theories and, like, all the stuff that she says about that? I mean, yeah. So there's the corona that is the seat of powers and the gemma that gives you conscious control of it. Though apparently if you remove the entire corona, you still have the power. You just don't have any conscious control of it. Right. It has some kind of instinctual control. Yeah. Yeah. And Bonesaw's theory that there is some... Palentia is power, and Gemma is like bud. Okay.
And Bonesaw's theory is there's some kind of passenger, which is maybe too small to see, or at least she hasn't been able to isolate it.
Yeah.
That is there. And, like, would this be, like, the bit of essence that Miss Militia saw flaking off of that being and landing on her, sort of the seed?
Yeah.
Bonesaw talked earlier about how the power kind of reshapes you.
Yeah, in Amy's interlude, the sort of like, as it is, changing you, it like maps sort of out across all of your experience or the world's experience and like figures out how to tether your power to something that it affects, like then is kind of like fixed, in that moment. And I think, I don't remember if it was in this chapter or previous chapter, sort of like, it dies, but then it's like, it's still there, or like, it's a little unclear. But right, this idea that, as we've talked about, the human brain is not big enough to be able to operate something like Taylor's power. And so...
Well, that was the conversation that Lisa and Victoria had, where Victoria's like, no one can be psychic because the brain isn't big enough to map someone else's brain. And Lisa's like, none of these powers are possible.
Yeah, and when Taylor feels so limited, right, all she can say is attack, and the bugs go straight to Bonesaw. But I just want to read this description. It worked on its own without my direction. It was eerie to track their movements, to see just how much initiative they took without my conscious mind guiding them. They spread out, navigated past obstacles, they organized into ranks and tried to attack her from behind, while she was spraying the ones in front of her.
Organizing into ranks?
Some of the flying insects were even dropping spiders onto Bonesaw.
Wild.
So it's fascinating, right? How can her power be doing all this stuff when she is in this state?
Yeah.
And I feel like there's this element of like, conscious versus instinctual control. But then there's also this element of like, what is Taylor? What is passenger? Like, there's a different axis that Bonesaw is opening up here.
Yeah.
And Taylor kind of thinks it's so funny. Like, she's not above asking for help, right? She's like, okay, passenger, help me. Like, let's do it, right? And then
nothing happens.
Yeah, and Taylor, after that, thinks, whatever aid my passenger provided, it wouldn't think of something I couldn't. Which, it feels almost like a strong, like, narrative reassurance from Wildbow. A little bit of like, well, whatever's going on here, right? Like, Taylor's in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, like, I wonder, the sort of, like, bugs dropping other bugs, it's almost like Taylor had this idea, taught her power how to do that, and now its abilities are increased and it can kind of operate, on its own.
What is suggested to me by all of this, it's like almost like Taylor has a brigade of like middle managers at her command, and they're all like real dumb, but when she has taught them ideas, they can carry them out really well.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of like the fake AI thing, which like, I don't know how much this actually happens in reality, but the thing where it's like, we've got this amazing AI tool and it turns out to be like a lot of very cheaply paid like workers in another country who are just
mechanical
actual
Turk phenomenon.
Yes, that's what it is. That's what her power feels like. I'm like, are there a bunch of aliens directing these bugs?
No, that's...
But I think we'd see more erratic behavior in that case.
Yeah.
But yeah, her power does seem to have this, like, vast ability beyond... Because, like we said, she can't consciously control everything that happens when she's, like, writing messages to, like, hundreds of people at once.
Yeah, and just going back to when she's like, get the money. And then, like, the bugs, like, bring all these, like, bags full of cash. And she's kind of like...
How did they do that?
I didn't know they could do that.
They understand money?
Let's roll with it.
Yeah, some part of her brain, but like Bonesaw said, there is no part of her brain big enough to do this. So it kind of feels like there has to be an extant connection to the multidimensional space that the beings come from or like travel through.
Yeah.
Z-space, as we've posited before.
Yes. I was also thinking a lot about how the parahuman biology reminds me of studies into the biological basis for consciousness and like the sort of original theories of like, there must be like there's a
ghost in the machine.
Yeah, but it's like where is the spot? Like, there must be a part of the brain that connects the sort of, realm of like mind and soul and God to the biological realm, right? Like there must be something in there, but it's like, okay, well, now that we've looked at a bunch of brains, like, well, it's not there, but maybe it's just like so small we can't see it, right? Or it's like a little bit of like, oh, well, your brain is a machine, except there must be one little injection point, and that's where the free will comes in, right? Like that's how that'll explain everything. That'll help us reconcile our like deterministic view of the world and our need for people to have like free will, right? And so I feel like all of this Corona Palencia and Gemma stuff feels a lot like that, of like, okay, well, you know, there must be something to explain how this all works, you know, like, but just, it's all these superpowers and not just like, how do people have lived first-person experiences?
Yeah. Bonesaw's just like, show me your thoughts. Show them to me.
Right. What about, so Bonesaw's theory is basically like, so I know how to disable the Gemma. Obviously, you sending your bugs after me, like, it's not actually, it's annoying at most, but like, you shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
And she's like more interested in getting inside Taylor's head because of Taylor being able to even hold on to these very simplistic attacks. So like, what do you make of that? Is this a weakness in Bonesaw's understanding? Is this something that's different about Taylor?
It's a good question. I feel like we have seen Taylor be different from other capes in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like her power, I mean, every power is different, so this doesn't necessarily indicate anything, but she has the ability to micromanage way beyond, like I think she said she's probably like, did she say she was like top 5?
Yeah.
Like she must be. And, you know, we've talked about how much her power has sort of independence from her. Like, she can give it a rough command and it'll figure out how to follow it. And presumably that's some part of her mind doing it, not like the bugs figuring it out.
Yeah.
I do still like the theory about, like, if she acts repeatedly on the same bugs, she'll make them smarter.
Just keep dying.
I know. That's the thing. They're so expendable. It doesn't really make sense. But that's why she hasn't noticed yet. But, yeah, okay. If, like, she is a master, like, beyond any other we've seen, like, Regent can control people, but, like, 4. And she can control millions of bugs with no upper limit. So it's possible there's, like, an extra layer of delegation built into her power, and she can...
Oh, interesting.
And that is sort of still active in a way, where she can't give it detailed commands, but she can just be like, do a thing, and it will sort of figure out how to do the thing.
Yeah. I was also wondering, you'd observed a little bit earlier about how Taylor is also sort of in original trigger event mind space, and her power is extended. I do wonder also if there could be something to that of just like, she is on overdrive in a way that means that she can get out those like really rough commands, you know, in a way that sort of she wouldn't be able to otherwise.
That's
and
true.
Maybe,
though I think the specific forehead slicing juice moment was after this happened, but she is, you know,
yeah, but her
helpless.
5 block range is as soon as she says attack, right? So she's definitely in this headspace.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very interested in what it is. You know, we also see, right, I guess we're not sure was Brian's power deactivated by Bonesaw or not, but we also saw him be able to use his darkness
a little bit,
perhaps in a way or at a time that he shouldn't, which is really interesting.
Yeah, it did seem like Bonesaw wanted him to use the darkness, so presumably he wasn't fully deactivated.
I mean, yeah. Or wanted him to, you know,
trigger
get closer to his original trigger event, as we discussed. So, speaking of Bonesaw.
Yeah.
I have a lot of notes in this chapter that are, I love her. I love her. She is so much fun. And so awful. She's like...
She's a great horror villain. Fantastic.
Yeah. She is so excited about getting into Taylor's head. She kisses her on the forehead and then nonchalantly wipes the blood off of her lips. She's trying to find an outlet for her giant circular saw and she can't find one and she's complaining about it.
She just wants to get the hard drive. Don't worry, Jack, I'll just be a minute.
Perian is like... I don't believe in, like, killing someone, you know, this way, but you are such a monster, I need to end you. And Bonesaw rolls her eyes. And like the mad scientist vibe is so on point. She has like little test tubes, and we see like under her like little dress, like she just has all of these like belts and different things. And then she's like brewing together, like, okay, I'm gonna make a vapor cloud, to keep the bugs away, and okay, I'm gonna make some kind of like acid that'll burn through fabric, and then she does her little like secret tooth, acid spray maneuver into Perion's face. It's like it's so good. It's so good. And the fact that she's so excited that she's singing the bone song, but connecting the bones to the wrong place, like she just wants to be able to build her living hives and her great projects. And
she has a hobby and she loves it.
Yeah, and she doesn't care. She doesn't care one bit about anything remotely human.
No, so true. Well, humans like hobbies, but we also like humans, so.
Yeah, I will say, as much as I love her, the part that got to me, where I was like, she's despicable and needs to be destroyed, was when she's telling Perion about her decoys.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, it's funny, it'll take a dozen visits with doctors less talented than I to like get back to normal. Can you imagine how many people are going to double take when they look at them before they've all been fixed? Like, oh no, it's Siberian. Except it isn't.
Ugh.
She's awful.
So, Gru didn't kill her. I wonder if the, I don't have long was this new power comes in bursts, maybe?
Yeah.
Just because he kills Burnscar, who I guess is the more imminent threat to, she is holding Taylor.
Yeah.
I guess Jack and Bonesaw aren't holding any of his other teammates. And maybe he didn't have time to kill all of them, but buddy, you should have killed all of them.
Yeah. There was another difference in that nobody could see except Taylor when he was killing Burnscar, because that was all in darkness.
Oh, right.
But the darkness was gone when he was holding Bonesaw. So I do wonder if there was a little bit more difficulty for Brian being like, am I going to do ultraviolence?
Oh,
or
I meant when the darkness is there and he kills Burnscar, why doesn't he just kill all three of them?
Oh, yeah. Well,
it's the darkness went away, but presumably that was his choice.
Maybe, yeah. And the sort of the way that Monochrome Brian flickers in and out of existence did suggest to me a sort of
maybe he didn't have time.
Yeah, didn't have time, or there's something to do with that power that means it's fragile for him to maintain it or something. Yeah, but I was thinking of his moment of when he's holding Bonesaw by the hands.
Yeah.
And he doesn't immediately
kill her,
rip her in half or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, she's hard to rip in half.
Yeah.
Jack had to hack at her 3 times to cut her hands off with the wrist.
And Jack's knife has no effect on Monochrome Brian.
Right. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Jack and Bonesaw are hilarious in this chapter.
Yes! You see it.
I do see it. I mean, yes. Jack is very funny. His dynamic with Bonesaw is very funny. She's like, no, I wanted to kill them. And he's like, you missed your chance, little bee. You got distracted.
Yeah. And then, right, the fact that he's like, we're leaving, and she worms out of his grasp and runs to get the hard drive. It's great.
There's clearly no fear between them.
No.
Yeah. Neither of them fears the other. And Jack is like, oh, the things I have to do. Cuts off Bonesaw's hands at the wrist.
Yeah. She sticks her stumps into her armpits and runs away.
And he knows she'll be fine.
Yeah.
Because she can fix anything about herself. Her spiders will do it. The way that they operate. Just what a wild life.
I also love how unbothered Jack is. He's actually being somewhat cautious. But he's you know what?
Interesting. Okay, let's leave.
No, but even before that, he comes back and he's like, yeah, they're stalling Siberian crawler. We should probably get out of here. Right?
And it's funny that he has a very unguarded statement about, if they stay, they could take one of us out, so it's better for us to leave now while they'll still have this positive impression of us. He thinks everyone else in the room is as good as dead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. 100%. Also, I love the, they see Burnscar obliterated, and Jack says, interesting.
Yeah.
And Bonesaw doesn't care at all.
Yeah.
Right? No reaction to Burnscar being killed.
Jack probably does find it interesting. He likes things that are interesting, but he does have a healthy sense of caution. And it's like, we need to leave now.
And it is frustrating that Brian was not immediately able to kill Jack and Bonesaw, but it does kind of make sense that narratively that they would have a moment to slip away here. So,
speaking of narrative, I am curious what happens next. Like, there's probably a world where it makes sense for the Slaughterhouse Five to limp out of town. I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
I feel like they don't retreat from stuff. They care about their reputation, and they don't want it to be like, Brockton Bay was able to drive us out. They killed 3 of our members and drove us out. Like, that would be such a blow to their reputation, I think. And, they didn't even get their new recruit. So I think that there's going to have to be an escalation.
Okay.
Because they can't just, go on doing their tests after this. I think we're probably going to get one more arc of them.
Okay.
Is my sense of where we are in the story. There's one chapter left in this arc. I know, because I used the index to go to this chapter. And I think my gut is that there's going to be one more arc of Slaughterhouse 9 before it comes to some sort of conclusion.
Okay.
And it's their turn to strike back.
Okay.
So that will probably be spectacular and devastating. And I'm kind of worried about it. I think that the Unravelers are going to have to hunker down in Coil's base because, they're just not going to be safe anywhere else.
Oh, fair. Yeah.
Yeah, because, they all have, known territories.
Yeah. But you can't abandon Skitterland.
Can't go to Skitterland. They know where it is.
Are you going to bring the orphanage into Coil's base?
That's a good question. Taylor is going to want to go back to Skitterland and see how everyone's doing, see who's still alive. But, she can't be alone in Skitterland.
Yeah.
They're going to come kill her.
Yeah.
There's going to be, the thing where they told Mannequin that he has to take care of Skitter, which, first of all, he didn't. But presumably that applies to Jack and Bonesaw now. They got kind of trounced by these people, and now they have to kill them.
Interesting.
So it's going to be this time it's personal kind of attack, I think.
Right. Yeah. How much will they see this as an embarrassing failure they need to come back from?
I think they have enough panache that they can put on a big show and, come out on top, at least in the short term.
Yeah.
It's doing something horrible and devastating. So I think they are going to act next. I don't think it's going to be in this arc.
Right.
Most likely, I think we'll get a chapter of, regrouping. And then next arc, I think, is going to be Slaughterhouse 9 Strikes Back, and we have a showdown.
Makes sense. I did want to briefly touch on Parian.
Yeah.
A really nice, as I mentioned, sort of moment of hope and then despair again as she arrives in the middle of the chapter, starts to fight Bonesaw, and then Bonesaw completely wins.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, did you have any thoughts about Parian?
I definitely thought Parian was going to die. She really just was, so outgunned.
Yeah.
Then, that was part of the Eucatastrophe, that, she ends up fine at the end, it seems like.
It was so cool, her, throwing a bunch of needles with thread and then being able to manipulate the thread so that it sort of spread eagles Bonesaw up in the air.
Such a cool power! So random, but so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is kind of what we've seen from her before, and it feels out of place in this story, but it's kind of a nice reminder, I guess, that not everyone is as comfortable with combat as our main characters are.
Yeah.
I'm Parian, get it together. Just kill the monster already.
Right. Yeah, she does a hero monologue, right? I never wanted to fight, but I can't let you walk away. It's no, come on. You can monologue over Bonesaw's dead body.
She wouldn't have been able to kill her anyway.
Exactly, yeah. But Parian was never going to be Bonesaw just because of the reinforcements.
But I do love how strong her stuffed animals are.
Oh, yeah.
It's haymaker punches at Bonesaw.
Yeah, and fighting from inside one of her creations was so awesome.
I really appreciate everything she's doing.
Yeah.
She clearly doesn't want to be doing any of this, and she is fighting so hard to protect people.
Yeah. And I noticed something. There's that beat where Parian is walking through and then, pauses. And Taylor's okay, Parian stopped for some reason. But, she doesn't know that we're here, right? She hasn't found it. And then when the saw noise starts, Parian runs over. Parian says, "You killed my mom." And to me, that moment of her stopping is finding her mom's body among the people that Bonesaw has killed.
No.
And so my aunt, my best friend, my cousin, they were all here. I thought they'd get away, so I played dead, you know, all of that stuff. And so it seems like Perian did save some people, but is facing the situation.
But she maybe didn't save her people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I hope some of them were horrible plastic surgery victims and are still alive.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Maybe Gru can help somehow.
Maybe. He can apparently do anything now. For short periods of time? ? I do think there are a couple of things that Bonesaw is bad at, which was fun. She really failed at getting Taylor's mask off.
That was so funny. Well,
it's like,
as
she's
you
not super at that.
Yeah, Taylor's costume is just the MVP of this story.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, even Bonesaw has the little circular saw that she's using to cut apart Taylor's spider silk, but then the silk jams the saw. Right, which, again, buys her even more time. You know, like, it's incredible.
It's so good. Yeah, and then her curiosity, like her whole attitude towards everything, her lack of fear, her lack of concern is such a strength, but it's also really a liability. Like, that's what gets them in the end. It's what, does in her hands.
Yeah.
Is that, like, she just has to go see that hard drive, and she gets distracted also when she's supposed to be killing people. Yeah,
and I do feel like one downside of either her power or her personality, right, is that this sort of like carelessness or whimsy with which she approaches what she can do seems to mean that her creations are like inherently unstable or like rapidly deteriorating. We saw sort of hack job every time we saw them be like actively rotting away, right? And then here we have the mannequin collaboration with Brian, and Bonesaw even says, and mannequin will help me with you so that you can be a living hive, right? It's like, without maybe a mannequin or maybe a panacea or something to help her, she doesn't seem to be able to like create things that will last. Also, the way she sort of like harvests dead bodies for parts, it seems like she needs constant input to be able to keep patching things together. So it is a really interesting...
Her power has limits. This is why she wanted Amy, Yeah,
maybe it's like the same part of the power that makes her amoral, or maybe even that makes her childlike, also makes it so that she kind of can't build something that lasts. Yeah.
I wonder if this is part of what helps keep Mannequin in the group. Like, we were saying they need to punish him. Like, why is he just fighting alongside them? And I do think Jack wouldn't let Mannequin get away with too much, but I bet he gets a little more leeway than he would otherwise because Bonesaw is so central to the Nine, and Bonesaw values Mannequin's help.
Yeah,
he's got some capital there.
I love the idea that she wanted to create a new hack job using Trickster.
Yeah.
What a fun idea.
Oh, no.
I really appreciated that Taylor thinks that she's been too tired coming into the situation, which is a total...
Brian was right!
Total Brian vindication.
Brian's the real hero of the chapter. Not just in his second trigger event, but also in his sleep advice.
Exactly.
I mean, also in his heroic self-sacrifice.
Yeah. As much as, stalling the way Taylor does with Bonesaw is such a good tactic against someone with more power, right? This has come up before, the sort of I don't know how we're going to beat Mannequin, but let's, stall until we can, figure something out. That's also, right, this is exactly your point about Brian in the fridge, right? Just buy more time and maybe a solution will present itself, right? But I like that Bonesaw is smarter than Burnscar when Brian's you're doing it wrong. And Burnscar's what? No, I'm not doing it wrong. Bonesaw's you're being confusing. Is this a stalling tactic?
Yeah,
right? She's at least, it doesn't keep her from explaining her whole living hive thing, but.
Well, who wouldn't want to explain their whole living hive thing?
Exactly. Oh, also, when Taylor's getting cut up, she says she didn't register it. Perian is coming in, and as Bonesaw gets hit, Taylor gets cut even more, and she says, I didn't care. It's really interesting. She is so focused on the rescue attempt that she is not registering pain. And it's like it's a real part of her power that's like she can disassociate, like be entirely in her like in her bugs more so than in her own body, which I thought was a really interesting thing to see.
I wonder if Monochrome Brian will be able to, like, can Brian just give him instructions the way Taylor does to her bugs, like get the money, or does it need to be more like active possession or control?
Interesting. I do feel like the involuntary brain surgery in this chapter could be, for some people, the worst thing possible to read about. Like, for me, it's not quite as bad as some of the more overt body horror stuff, but it is pretty bad. Oh, I did have in my notes, going back to the trigger vision thing, when Taylor sees the snapshot of, like, Earth and everything that's going on it, that is a similar scene to what Battery saw. Because we had noticed that Battery's trigger event visions were, like, fairly different. But Battery did see a sort of, like, all of the people on Earth type of thing. So that was a fun connection to make.
Maybe Brian's second trigger event was a cauldron power somehow.
Who can say? Who can say?
I wonder if Cauldron has a Bonesaw-esque tinker behind their formulas.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, it's been a big conversation. I think that's pretty much all I got.
We can probably wrap up. Yeah.
Heading into the last chapter of the arc, as you observed.
Yeah, I think they probably will go back to Coil's base.
Okay.
It just feels like the safest place right now. They probably need to check on what's going on with Cherish, and I guess they need to meet up with Bitch and Regent and Shatterbird and see what's going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of, like, little threads to
yeah, but sort of bracing for the
Nine has to strike back. Yeah. They can't just take this.
Yeah.
I mean, Bonesaw's hands got cut off.
Yeah.
By Jack, but still.
The next chapter starts. I slept, but it was less like parking a car.
And interesting. More like being in the passenger seat. Okay, so she sleeps but not well, which is a bummer because she really needs sleep. Okay, well, then I guess we're going to get the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully she's sleeping somewhere safe.
Yeah. And I woke up and I was back in Bonesaw's clutches. It was all a dream.
Oh, man. I mean, a second trigger event, if anything's a candidate for being just a dream.
Yeah.
That would be horrible.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see where we go from here.
You know, it just occurred to me, what if, you know how we played that prank on Gray where we wrote her a fake Animorphs book and gave her the ebook and discussed it as part of our podcast? What if you gave me this ebook? What if you modified it so there's one chapter that's not real and then we spend 2 hours talking about it and then you're like, surprise, that didn't happen.
It sounds like that's something that you would absolutely be okay with. I would have had to do that over a year ago.
That's true, but you could be foresighted. Yeah, at this point, I don't think you can change the ebook I'm reading. Yeah. I would probably notice that.
Yeah.
You don't even have my phone password.
Yeah.
Do I have to change it just in case?
No.
No. But okay, yes, I guess we'll see what happens.
Next time.
On Inchworm.
Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae. You can read Worm at parahumans.wordpress.com and support the author at patreon.com/wildbow. Follow us on Tumblr and Blue Sky at Inchworm Podcast, or find our Discord link and any other updates on inchwormpodcast.com.